The president's chief of staff today upping the ante over a diplomatic riff with Cuba and the unexplained ailments among nearly 24 U.S. diplomats in Cuba. Correspondent Rich Edson joins us live from the State Department with new details on this mystery. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Brett. And Chief of Staff John Kelly presented the strongest accusations yet against the Cuban government over those injured American diplomats in Cuba.
We believe that the Cuban government could stop the attacks on our diplomats.
The U.S. has only held Cuba responsible for failing to protect American diplomats serving there, not for causing these attacks. When asked whether General Kelly's comments represent a change in U.S. position, the State Department says no.
Cuba has a responsibility under the Vienna Convention to protect our diplomatic staff. That has not changed. It is also a well-known fact that in a small country like Cuba, that has the type of regime and government it does, they tend to know things that are going on within its own borders.
Earlier this month, the administration expelled 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States after reducing American staff in Havana. The Associated Press reports it has obtained recordings of the sounds from these mysterious sonic attacks. Now, the State Department says it has confirmed 22 cases of injured diplomats because of this. The Cuban government denies any involvement, Brett.
It's such a strange story, especially when you hear that sound, Rich. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, meantime, has been on the phone today with allies talking about this decision by the president on Iran tomorrow.
He has. He's been speaking with counterparts. The State Department confirms over the last couple of days, speaking with those in Great Britain, France, Russia, and China. These are all countries that are part of the Iran nuclear deal. Many of them oppose the U.S. leaving it. But the White House says President Trump will announce his administration's Iran policy tomorrow afternoon, likely keeping the United States in the Iran nuclear agreement, at least for now. It will decline to certify Iran is complying with the bulk of the nuclear agreement. That then gives Congress 60 days to restore nuclear-related sanctions against Iran. If it does, the U.S. is effectively out of the nuclear deal. Administration officials say they want to address Iran's terrorist funding, ballistic missile development, and cyber attacks as part of this broader strategy. Obama administration officials who negotiated the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement are lobbying to keep the United States in it, as are European allies. They claim that the agreement is working, preventing Iran from reaching the status of getting a nuclear weapon, but there are also European companies that are conducting business with Iran, making profit from that, and they want to make sure that the Iran nuclear agreement stays intact because it allows that business, Brett.
And we'll lay it all out tomorrow. One last thing, Rich. The United States has withdrawn from UNESCO. For somebody sitting at home, what does that mean? Well,
UNESCO is a United Nations agency that is responsible for cultural and educational types of things, including the World Heritage sites that are designated from landmarks across the world. The U.S. is saying that it's leaving UNESCO because it says the organization has an anti-Israel bias, passing resolutions condemning Israel. It kept Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad on its Human Rights Committee, and officials say this is also a financial decision. The United States owes nearly $500 million to UNESCO. That's because back in 2011, UNESCO let the Palestinian Authority become part of UNESCO officially. There's a U.S. law that says that if the Palestinian Authority is part of any United Nations energy or agency, the United States cannot fund it. And so there are backdated financial dues for the United States there to the tune of about $500 million, Brett.
Rich Edson wrapping it all up at the State Department. Rich, thanks.